Mm. Mm. Oh yes, it's your favorite. It's your favorite. It's your favorite. Mm. Okay. Okay. Now it's time for my fifth and my um last the last part of my fifth literary video blog. This is 5C, and this is my most recent, very most recent stories. These have all been written within the last 2 years. um, Juliet and Juliet. This was originally written as a play, but I decided I didn't like it as a play, so I decided to write it as a short story, and this is my longest short story to date. This is 68 written pages, and like I said before, I'm not a short story writer. I have like no, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a novel writer. Once it gets to like 20, 30 pages, it's like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. But, I don't know how it got all the way to 68 pages, but, it was an interesting journey. Juliet and Juliet, this kind of the same premise as, her first lesbian experience. This girl starts dating this other girl. She didn't know she was into girls until she started dating her, and they but where they live, it's not acceptable at all to be in same sex relationships. So their love ends in tragedy. But that's what Juliet and Juliet is about. And then I have Your Cake and Eat It Too, which is kind of a dumb title, but it's about this bisexual girl who's in a lesbian relationship, and when she goes off to college, she meets this guy, and she decides that she's gonna she wants to share her girlfriend and this guy. So it's about them navigating this polyamorous relationship. And I put a lot of myself into the main character and into her girlfriend. Um, I put a lot of like I said, I put a lot of myself and a lot of my feelings about polyamorous relationships in here, and my feelings about, just losing my virginity in general. Like, this was just a raw, emotional book. I mean, I keep calling it a book. It feels like a book because so much was put into it. You would think that this would be the one that had 68 written pages, but it was only like 32 written pages, and both of these are pretty erotic. Juliet and Juliet and Have Your Cake and Eat It Too, both of them are very erotic. Well, all of these I've written in the last 2 years are all just erotic. This one is Curiosity Fulfills the Cat, and this again sort of runs on her first lesbian experience. This girl has she finds out that her boyfriend cheats on her, and she sort of falls into this same sex relationship, and it's basically just her trying to figure out, is she gay, is she bi, is she just experimenting, is she just traumatized because, um, you know, this guy cheated on her, she's going through all these kind of emotions. And the story that I am working on at the moment is Her Majesty, and this is basically this princess. It's a modern day monarchy. This princess, yes, this is called Paper. Of course you would be here to play with a paper. Oh yes, oh yes, you love paper. Oh yes, you want to be a writer, don't you? Oh yes. I love you, cat. I'm trying to talk here. My little writer. But basically, this modern day princess, she's she fools around sexually with her ladies in waiting, and she ends up finding a main girlfriend to fool around with, along with the others that she still messes with. But because of politics, she has to enter into an arranged marriage. But she ends up falling in love with the guy that she's arranged to marry, so she invites him into her world. But because of politics, he separates the three of them. And, she decides, she brings them all back together again, but originally, when I first decided I was going to write this story, I knew the story was going to end in tragedy, kind of like Juliet and Juliet. But I'm not really sure why I'm in such a writer's block with this. I'm not really sure why I'm in such a writer's block with this story. So right now it's at 39 written pages, and I've gotten to the tragedy part, and now I really just have to close it. But we'll see. It's just, there's a lot of stuff going on with this story. Like I said, the politics, and but it was cool creating this story, doing the modern day monarchy thing and thinking of a name of a country and organizing this country, and just like, it's kind of fun making up stuff like that, modern day monarchy stuff mixed with old world locations and things like that. So I love this cat. He's just obsessed with writing. But I actually need this, so thanks. Hopefully I will finish this story this year. Because once I finish this story, I am going to start on a story about a woman who becomes a cougar. And that'll be interesting. I've never really tackled cougar. I've always dealt with, high school stories. And, it's only recent years that I've dealt with, lesbian stories and bisexual stories and stories about heterosexual adult relationships. So it's kind of weird, so it'll be interesting venturing into, but I've done random stuff before, like my story with the vampire, and my story with the guy who dies and comes back. So, and the princess, story. This is my second princess story. So, then after the cougar story, there'll be a story I'll have to do a little bit of research on, occupational research. This teacher who will fall in love with a U.S. Marshal. And I have a couple of ideas of the conflict I want to have in that story, but I'm not there yet, so I'm not sure what the conflict will be in that story. But that's going to be the next premise after the cougar story. Is a teacher who falls in love with this U.S. Marshal. And then after that one, there'll be a supernatural story, because I haven't written a supernatural story in a little bit. So it'll be about a white male angel who falls in love with a black female demon. And that'll be really interesting. And then after that one, the last story I have that I want to work on, until I can think of new stories, because I think I'll be writing stories my whole life. So the last story idea that I have right now is it'll be a high school story. This boy who's a player who transfers to this school and ends up falling in love with his new best friend's sister, who's pretty shy and hasn't been around the block, and he has. So that's what that story will be about. So I hope you liked the in-depth look at all of my short stories, the ones I'm writing, and all the ones I've written from 8th grade on up. And stay tuned for my 6th literary video blog, where I'll talk about articles that have inspired me over the years. Say bye, cat. Friendly. Oh, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me. Oh, I love you. Okay, bye.